Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack and this is your latest Manchester United news. And we've got a busy show tonight, guys. Obviously, we had the word today. Benjamin Sesko to Manchester United is at the here we go stage. Fabrizio Romano, David Ornstein have all been reporting it. And Manchester United are moving fast on this one. He is in Manchester as we speak, so we'll update you on all of the movements there. It looks like he's going to be a Manchester United player within the next day or two, so we'll talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk as well, guys. Sorry, now my lights are a little bit all over this. We're also going to talk as well about what that means for Rasmus Hojlund. We've got some updates on him as well. David Ornstein has also been dropping bombs all day. Reports suggesting that Garnacho and Chelsea are moving in the right direction, so we'll give you an update on that as well. And of course, guys, Baleba to Manchester United. Then I saw his face, do, now I'm a Baleba. I'm sorry, I won't do that ever again. But anyway, the reports are suggesting now that Manchester United are interested in him, and we know United, through intermediaries, have touched base, maybe. But the price is in, and you can see it in the thumbnail and the title. It's 100+ million, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well, guys. As always, please do smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, but more importantly, get your comments into the live chat, guys. I want to know what you guys think. I want to know your opinions on everything that's gone on today, whether it be Benjamin Sesko, Baleba, Garnacho, whatever the case may be. We'll talk about it all. I've got something stuck in my teeth. Anyway. Finn, welcome as well. Finn is in the chat already there. He says, stay away at 100 million. Well, let's get right into it. We're going to talk first and foremost, guys, about Benjamin Sesko. And I think I'm not even going to try and pronounce it properly. I'm just going to call him Sesko, even if it's wrong. But anyway, guys, we've got the here we go today from Fabrizio Romano, and then preceded by, of course, David Ornstein in relation to the deal being done. We went live earlier today, so for people who missed it, Manchester United have struck an agreement in principle with RB Leipzig to sign Benjamin Sesko. Deal for the 22-year-old striker is 76.5 million plus 8.5 million in add-ons. Slovenia International given permission to fly and do medical before completing the Manchester United move. And that's exactly what has happened, guys. Fabrizio Romano gave us the update then as well. Here we go. Sesko agreed terms personally until 2030. So that is a 5-year deal for Benjamin Sesko. And he'll probably have, United will probably have the option, the 1-year extension that they always do on it. Sesko made it clear on Tuesday that he wanted Manchester United. Done and done. Now, since then, Fabrizio Romano has updated us further on the deal for him, and he says that the add-ons for Benjamin Sesko will be easy to reach, and we touched on this a little bit on our live show earlier on. The 8.5 million are easy add-ons, so you would expect it to be appearance-based, goal-based. You know, it's not going to be for United winning the Champions League or the World Cup because, you know, obviously they are a lot more difficult. So Manchester United are easing their 8.5 million add-on bonuses there where, you know, once he hits 50 appearances, you get another million. You know, once he hits 20 goals, 2 million, or whatever the case may be. So, look, basically the 85 million euro is going to be guaranteed to RB Leipzig on the deal. Now, look, it's a lot of money, guys. It's a lot of money. And I want to know what you guys think in the chat as well. 85 million euros. So we're talking around... actually, I want to double check that because 85 to... Yeah, £74 million. £74 million. So you're talking up front, you're talking in around the Cunha mark, the Embuemo mark, the 65, 67, I think, £million up front. And then obviously the add-ons will bring it up to about 74-ish. So it's a lot of money, and it's a lot of money for a 22-year-old striker who's unproven in the Premier League. And we've discussed this in depth, really, haven't we? By the way, guys, there's only 2 likes on the video. Get liking that video, please, if you can. All right, it helps the channel out an awful lot. Yeah, I mean, it's an awful lot of money. 85 million euro for a 22-year-old unproven striker in the Premier League is a big gamble. It is a big gamble. It really, really is. And look, we know that there was alternative options there and that were maybe safer bets. Ollie Watkins, for example, would have been the safest option in my eyes and in a lot of our eyes. As you know, we were discussing it in depth over the last few weeks. And I think Watkins was probably, I would go as far as maybe 70 to 80% of the fan base were leaning towards Watkins. But nonetheless, we've got longevity in a Sesko deal. And if he does come in and he scores goals and he does want to move on in 4 or 5 years' time, whatever the case may be, then you will potentially recoup an awful lot of your money back from him. And again, look, Manchester United are not a selling club and we don't want to be selling players. But ultimately, if a player wants to leave a club, he will eventually do it. We can't keep them forever. So yeah, it is a big gamble, guys, but I'm excited about it. I really, really am. And look, I think more than anything else, we've got to take into consideration here what we had last season to what we have now. We've completely, Ineos and the powers that be at Manchester United have completely transformed our forward line. They really, really have. They've absolutely transformed it. And I mentioned earlier on, I can't remember the last time, I don't think ever, that Manchester United just revamped their whole attack. Name me a team that has done it in the past outside of, maybe the oil clubs, maybe. Obviously we see massive turnovers early doors for Manchester City and where's the money coming from? And that's the thing. And I think it's all down to the structure of the deal. I really do. Now, I'm under no illusions here that Manchester United are going to have to sell players between now and the end of the window. And I do think we will do that. And we'll get on to some of them options in a moment. But the money is there. And the money is there primarily in my eyes because of the structure of the deals that we're putting in place. Like, we know that the Mbeumo and Cunha deals are structured in a way that Manchester United are not paying an awful lot this year. So it's staggered. I think it was at 16 point something million over 4 installments for Mbeumo, and I think Cunha is over 3 installments, so it's a little bit higher. You would expect a deal of this magnitude with Benjamin Sesko, when you're talking about 85 million euro, that we're going to structure it in a way where United are paying, 20 million a year, maybe, max, I would say. I wouldn't even say it would be that, to be quite honest with you. If you break it over 4 installments, you're talking less than 20 million. And I think that's why Manchester United have the kind of money that they've got. Now, we've got some money in, and the majority of money we've got in is because of sell-ons, players who have moved to new clubs, and we've got a percentage of it. And as well, by the way, to mention, reports suggesting that Mason Greenwood's valuation is sitting at about 75 million, 80 million pounds. So if he moves on this summer, we've got a 50% sell-on clause for him as well. So yeah, that would obviously be fantastic. But anyway, the money is there. The money is there for Manchester United. And the cost-cutting measures, while we didn't agree with them at the time, I think are playing a pivotal role here as well. And look, I reiterate the fact that you never want to see, ordinary people losing their jobs, like the dinner ladies and, whoever else was losing their jobs there. But I said it at the time, and I'll say it again, Ineos go into businesses that are failing and they make them profitable again. So I don't think Ineos are going to overspend if the money is not there. They want Manchester United to be profitable again. And I think structuring these deals in certain ways allows us to make these signings without going into too much debt over it. Inevitably, you will have to pay these fees regardless. But staggering them over a 3 or 4 year period, I think lessens the blow. It really, really does. Now, let's see what you guys are saying here in the chat. Get your comments in as always, guys. Hamels says, forget about the league. The halftime potatoes are back. The halftime potatoes are not back until... what's the second game we're playing? Because I won't be here for the first game. I'll be at Oasis. But whenever we'll be doing the watch-alongs, we'll be doing halftime potatoes. Chris says, Baleba is not coming. It's a PR stunt. They can say they tried, knowing damn well they couldn't get him. I don't know. I don't know. Now, look, we might not get him, but I don't think that's the reason why we're going for him. I mean, what benefit would going for a central midfielder that you know you're not going to get give to you? I mean, I don't think it would benefit us. Why not just concentrate on the midfielder that you can afford and that is realistic that you can get? I don't know PR wise why they would do that. Again, they're just wasting time. They may buy a midfielder for less, but can always say they tried. Yeah, I don't see the benefit of that, to be quite honest with you. I don't see why we would try when all you would really be doing is wasting time, you know. And maybe it's to spook another midfielder out from under the table. You know, if there's a deal trying to be made at the moment that we're not aware of, and you know a player is maybe digging their heels in, and United are going, all right, well we'll move on. Let's release that we're going for Baleba to spook him into making a decision. Then maybe so. We've seen that with Gyökeres and the links with Manchester United putting in a bid for him, and all of a sudden Arsenal move quite quickly. So maybe that is the case. Thomas says, the front three are looking great, but 100 million on Baleba is too much of a risk for me. Well, we'll get on to Baleba in a moment. Darryl is in, good to see you as well. D says, Onana, possibly Lemens or Donnarumma, De Ligt, Martinez, Yoro Dorgu, Ahmad Fernandez, Ugarte, possibly Baleba, but not for 100 million. Cunha, Mbeumo, Sesko. We look terrifying. We are colossal. All right, take a breath now. Take a breath. We have to settle the books by next July. Yep, we do. So sales in January, of course, will come into play there as well. Absolutely. Sesko is farther along in his career right now than Hojlund is, though they are the same age. I agree. Well, look, when Hojlund came, and again, look, there's going to be a lot of comparisons, and there has been, of course, already. In relation to Sesko and Hojlund, and you know, people are saying, oh, you're buying another one, you know, and while we are buying an unproven striker in the Premier League, I agree with what Chris is saying. He is further along in his development. We bought Hojlund at 20 years of age, or 19, I think, was he? 19, 20, and he's 21 years of age now. Sesko is 22 years of age, and he's been playing as the main man for a number of years now for RB Salzburg, then Leipzig. And also, what you've got to take into consideration is that he is coming into a much better environment than Hojlund ever did. And I mentioned that earlier on as well, and I reiterate the fact, you know, he is coming in to a much more structured setup where you've got the hierarchy of running the club a lot better, not perfectly, but a lot better. You've got a manager there who has set some principles and some, you know, really, and is in the process of setting some good morals and standards there. And you've also got quality players that are going to be playing behind him now. You're going to have Mbeumo, you're going to have Cunha, you know, you're going to have Bruno Fernandes probably playing a little bit deeper. You're going to have Ahmad on one side, Dorgu on the other side. There is a lot more quality there now than when Hojlund came in. So I do think it's set up for Benjamin Sesko to be an awful lot more successful than Rasmus Hojlund. But, I mean, again, it wouldn't be hard considering how poor Rasmus Hojlund has been over the last few years. Let's see. What else have we got? Jamie says United want 50 million plus for Garnacho. Yeah, we'll get on to Garnacho in a few minutes. Sesko got 3 years, says Chris, at Leipzig and Salzburg, while Hojlund had a year at Atalanta. Yeah, and then was thrown to the Wolves. Absolutely. We are buying the correct players, not the most expensive, but players that Amram wants. And players that Amram wants, but also players that want to play for Manchester United. It's as simple as that. You know, Cunha wanted United, Mbeumo wanted United, and Sesko wanted United. It's as simple as that. They all wanted it. And of course, Diego Leon wanted Manchester United as well. So we're signing players that want to sign for Manchester United. Are you telling me that Sesko might not, or like had no option to go and play in a Champions League team? You're fucking damn right he did. All right. Now, maybe the price tag spooked off a lot of teams that were in the Champions League, but nonetheless, Sesko is after choosing Manchester United without Champions League football. You know, and on the back of a season where we finished 15th. So, there you go. Let's see, what else have we got here? Where are we? D says, as was said in the members chat, a few of these idiots teams in the league need reminding of who we are. Absolutely. And, we've heard all of the nonsense about, Alan Shearer saying, why would anybody choose Manchester United over Newcastle when Newcastle can offer Champions League football? Well, this is the reason. Stay in your lane there. You're a small club in comparison to Manchester United. And geographically, I think the geography has to come into consideration here. You're talking about Manchester United, Liverpool, London. These are the three main cities in England, you would say. And it does have a pull. It really does. And we've seen Manchester United down through the years lose out on players who wanted to live in London. And that was the sole reason why they didn't choose Manchester United. So it does play a part. It really does. Maybe we can get Hojlund for less since we turned to Baleba. Maybe that's the tactic, Chris. Maybe that's the tactic. However, I think if we go looking for Baleba and are silly enough, which I don't think we would be, to put a bid in, and then go back to Sporting Lisbon, they go, well, fuck off. We're not taking your sloppy seconds. We're going to hold to our valuation. Maybe, I don't know. We'll speak about that in a few moments. Benjamin Sesko, guys, we spoke already. He is in Manchester at the moment. He was pictured with his agent on the way in the private jet to Manchester earlier on. Fabrizio Romano has been keeping us updated on it. Sesko and his agent Elvis Basanovic on the way to Manchester. The first pick of Sesko since becoming a new Manchester United player, the club he wanted. He's landing tonight, medical, so on and so forth. So here we go. This is the clip of Benjamin Sesko arriving at Manchester Airport. He is there. He has arrived. Guess which one he is. Of course, we know he's there. And it's good news. It is absolutely 100% good news, guys. He is in Manchester and he is going to be a Manchester United player in the coming 24 to 48 hours, I would say. The reports are suggesting, guys, that it's going to be medical today, signing and all that tomorrow, and then it's going to be unveiling on Saturday for the Fiorentina game at Old Trafford, which absolutely would be fantastic. And look, you've got to give credit to Ineos here. You really do. And I know we've been critical about them on some points so far this summer, but they are getting, when they decide to get a deal done, by God, do they get it done quickly. We've seen Cunha obviously been very fast. And Buemo, when we put the third deal in, I think we were 3 or 4 days, we had the deal done. And Benjamin Sesko, from when the bid went in to when we've got him in Manchester and done, is going to be the same. It's going to be 2 or 3 days. So we are moving very fast when we decide to move for a player and get the job done, which is absolutely fantastic to see. Right, guys. So Sesko coming in, okay. What does it mean for Rasmus Hojlund? Because he's obviously the other striker that's there at the moment. Well, Fabrizio Romano has given us an update on it on YouTube tonight, and he says that Manchester United are set to discuss with Rasmus Hojlund his future. AC Milan are aware of the possibility, of the possible opportunity on initial loan with heavy loan fee and salary covered. Hojlund insists on staying at Manchester United, not scared by competition. Now, I mean, look, AC Milan are interested in him, and we've heard reports from a number of other different teams, and I don't see Rasmus Hojlund staying. I don't. I think we will move him on. I think it may be a loan initially. Obviously, I think we would ideally like to see him be moved on permanently, but I think realistically it could be a loan. But again, I think what Fabrizio is saying here is more important. Heavy loan fee and salary covered. That's got to be included by Manchester United for any player or any team that want Rasmus Hojlund. I've mentioned before, I've got no issue with Rasmus Hojlund staying as a backup striker. I really don't. I think it would actually take a lot of the pressure off of him, and I think it would probably improve a little bit if he was playing 1 in 3, 1 in 4 games, and maybe coming off the bench when we needed to rest Sesko. I think he would probably improve a little bit on it. But I think what we're talking about here more than anything else is getting money in, and we know sales are needed. Sales are needed, and I think Rasmus Hojlund is a realistic opportunity to get some money into the club, or at the very least get some money off the books in terms of salary. Now, look, I mean, he's not on a massive salary. Let me check his salary per week. He's on about 85 grand a week. You know what I mean? So he's not on massive money, according to reports online. So, but nonetheless, it goes in the right direction in terms of balancing the books. And I mentioned before, and again, I think we could, if we did let Rasmus Hojlund go, realistically, I think we're taking a big risk on. You don't want this to happen, and the chances that you're going to get injuries are obviously lessened when you're playing lesser games. And we've got a game a week basically for the rest of for the entirety of this season. You don't have to have as much depth in your squad. But if God forbid, if Benjamin Sesko gets injured, it's Cheeto, and it's maybe a Cunha or an Mbeumo playing as that false nine, or a Bruno Fernandes. And we've seen that in pre-season, and it wasn't spectacular to watch. It really wasn't. So, look, there's pros and cons to letting Rasmus Hojlund go or to keeping him. I do think ultimately he will be moved on. He's saying that he's insisting on staying at Manchester United and fighting for his place. But I think the reasoning around that is because Manchester United haven't said to him yet that he's surplus to requirements. And I think if United do have that conversation with him, I think his outlook will change a little bit, and he'll be more open to a move in my eyes. But for now, if I'm looking at between now and the end of the transfer window, do I see Rasmus Hojlund moving on? Yes, I do. In what capacity? That remains to be seen. Let's see. What have we got? Hojlund needs either a loan or more time, says Keane. Jamie says, apart from players told to leave, do you think anyone else could be sold? Well, we're talking about Hojlund, so there's one. Chris says, I would like to see Hojlund stay and learn. Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be against it. The only issue is the money we paid for him, really, isn't it? And of course, that's under the old regime. And I'm not going to get too disheartened about what we've done under previous ownership and previous, boards and so on and so forth. John Murtagh, Richard Arnold, Ed Woodward, nightmares. Them kind of deals haven't happened since Ineos come in. They really haven't. So, while we paid an awful lot of money for Rasmus Hojlund, I think when's the best time to cash in? Yesterday, really. Because is his valuation going to increase by being second fiddle to Benjamin Sesko this season? I don't think it is. So, maybe it might be time to move him on. But I do agree with Chris there as well that, if he stays and is our backup, I would have absolutely no issue with that at all. Guys, take a second, smash the like button for me if you haven't done so already. We've only got 7 likes so far out of 120 people watching. So, come on. Up it here, if you can. Jamie says, do you think he plays any part in games against Fiorentina? Sesko, I think probably not against Fiorentina, but I do reckon that Sesko, I think it's quite realistic to think that he would be on the bench for Arsenal next week. I wouldn't mind seeing Hojlund now. The pressure's off him, says D. Absolutely. Chris says, Cunha did well with young striker in Strand Larsen. I think Cunha would make Hojlund better. Absolutely. I mean, look, if Hojlund plays... Look, we have seen Hojlund look better in pre-season. We have. And... but I still can't get away from the fact that last season was so atrociously bad, and he kept making the same mistakes over and over and over and over again. And even in pre-season, while he scored a goal, he looked less like he wanted to tussle with centre-backs. That was so frustrating last year. But the one thing that I've got to say about him in pre-season, on a negative sense, was that his link-up play still has nowhere Hasn't improved at all from last year. His link-up play is still really, really bad, and we need good link-up play from a forward, man. Finn says 6'6", hard as fuck, he gets the Reds excited. Stick Newcastle up your arse, cause we are Man United. We are Man United. That is 100% going to be being sung in the Stretford End for Arsenal next week, next Sunday. Daryl says I'd keep him on and have him compete with Sesko. Finn says, where does Xerxes fit into the jigsaw now? That remains to be seen. I think Xerxes is more than likely going to be probably in the number 10 role. I think he could play maybe a backup to Benjamin Sesko in a different way. I think he's more of a build-up player. I don't see him as being that pivotal number 9. And I think Ruben Amorim probably has more plans to play him in the 10 than the 9, to be quite honest with you. But that remains to be seen, and it's up to Xerxes to make a name for himself now. Rotation for Cunha and Buemo, I'd say, says D. Jamie says we could make 75 mil if we manage to sell Garnacho and Sancho before the window shuts. That's another world class. Well, see, the thing about it is, and you've got to take into consideration as well, we're talking about installments for players we buy. For the players we sell, we're not going to get a full upfront fee of 40 million for Garnacho, for example. It's going to be staggered over 2 or 3 years, you know. So we do have to take that into consideration as well. But it's all about balancing the books. It's all about balancing the books. Now, want to talk, guys, about the name that's been on everybody's mind since the Sesko deal has been done. And we're seeing it straight away. People are saying, forget about Sesko. It's done. It's done. Let's talk about Baleba. Well, look, we know that Manchester United have contacted his camp through intermediaries. And Julian Lawrence today, who is a reporter for a number of different outlets, ESPN, TNT, Total Football, all of that, says that Brighton have set their asking price of £104 million for Carlos Baleba amid interest off their midfielder from Manchester United. Huge money, absolutely huge money for a 21-year-old. Is that what he is? 21, I think. And it's massive, massive money to be paying out for a player when we've just, agreed pretty much to €85 million for Benjamin Sesko. This would be monumental if Manchester United could pull it off. It really would. He is the type of player that we need in that 6. He really, really is. Absolutely fantastic. That linchpin, that number 6. And we know how good Brighton get their young players. We know how Brighton get it right all the time, don't they? Or more than often when they're signing these young players from Africa or South America or anywhere in the world. They get them in under the radar, nice and early. They turn them into prodigies and then move them on. You know what I mean? Or turn them into just animals and move them on and sell them at a massive price. And, this is Caicedo 2.0 for them. Will Manchester United go in for him at 104 million? Absolutely no way, Jose. Absolutely no way. Absolutely no way. Now, look, I mean, if we get Sesko in and, Baleba gets, United put in a bid for him and we're heavily linked, I mean, I'm just going to be on a stiffy for the whole weekend. So I am. It would be unbelievable. It really, really would. And Ineos, I wouldn't put it past them. I really wouldn't, considering, they said, we've got no money, cap in hand. And I'm convinced that this was a tactic out of Ineos, to try and just say, well, no, look, we don't have money. No, we don't have money. And then bang! We've got money. There you go. Bosh, bish, bash. And then, I don't know, does it make negotiations a little bit easier when you're going to other clubs? It may or may not. I don't know. But I think, putting it out there that Manchester United are skint it can only benefit the club when really you do have a few bob to spend, because, the optics are a little bit different. And we spoke a little bit about this the other night on the podcast, but I don't know. Maybe we're playing checkers and Ineos are playing chess. I don't know. But look, in terms of £104 million for Baleba, I can't see us signing him. I really can't. I think it's a bridge too far. I really do. And I think, I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to say, if we sign Baleba, and let's say we got Donnarumma, all right? Now, there's reports suggesting Donnarumma could be got for around 30 million euros, all right? That's nothing. Now, if you can get him in on wages that are, under the umbrella of what Ineos want to give, and we get Baleba and we get Donnarumma after getting Sesko, Cunha and Mbeumo, we're challenging for the title. Fuck top 4 or top 5 or Europa League. We're challenging for the league title. I promise you that. But will we get him? I don't think we will. But Chris made a good point earlier on. Is Ineos, are Ineos doing what all other smart clubs have been doing for years now, and Man United weren't fucking smart enough to do it, is, right, well, we'll put it out there that we're interested in Baleba. We know that Manchester United supposedly had a bid of 40 million euros turned down for Hojlund at Sporting Lisbon. And is this United's way of going, right, well, we'll move on to other options, and put it out there that we're going for Baleba, and then go back to Sporting and say, look, is there any movement down? Because we'll come back to ye and we'll leave Baleba and we'll give ye 40 million euro. Or, are we going to park that? We've got the money. We've got the money for Baleba, but if you're going to give him to us for 40 million, we'll do a deal today with you. And then they'll go, oh, go on. And it's done, So, again, chess, not checkers. But look, ultimately, do I see Baleba coming to Manchester United this summer? No. And again, Julian Lawrence has been saying, guys, that Carlos Baleba is happy to stay at Brighton this summer, and a move is considered more likely next summer. And of course, Brighton with the asking price. So, I think a lot of this now is going to be in, and again, Ineos have moved directly towards the players' representatives first to get a feel whether a potential deal could be made. Now, if he comes out, Baleba, and says, I want Manchester United, and some reports today have suggested that he does want the move to Manchester United, again, then these reports are suggesting he's happy to stay. So, again, we're not 100% sure. But if he goes public, or not even public, if he goes to Brighton and says, Manchester United after coming in, I want out. I want to leave this summer. And then Manchester United can go, right, lovely, he's after doing that, right. We'll give you 70 plus 10. And then you start negotiating. And then you break that down over a 5-year installment plan. You're only paying 15 or 20 million. 15 million each time. It could be done, lads. It could be done. And I think that is probably what Ineos's angle is. Going to the players' representatives first. We've done it with Sesko 4 days ago, 5 days ago, whatever it was. Newcastle went to RB Leipzig with a big Hail Mary bid, going, we'll give you more money, we desperately want him. And Leipzig were like, okay, brilliant, right, let's see what Manchester United do. And United went, we're not getting into a fucking bidding war with Newcastle, because they would beat us in a bidding war. We'll go to the player, or we'll go to the representatives of the player, and we'll tell him that we want you, and if he wants us, you make it clear to your club that you want us and not Newcastle, and then we'll negotiate at a lower price. And that's what probably Manchester United would have to do with something like Baleba, because there's no way Manchester United are going in to Brighton to try and negotiate, without a Johnny on, just fucking dry, and going, well, where 104? No, come on, we'll offer 70. They're just going to go, fuck off, lads. You know what I mean? Get out of here. I don't give a toss what you do, So it's Ineos's maybe way of spooking the player, and not spooking the player a little bit, but maybe spooking the club a little bit into lowering their valuation if the player makes it known that he wants to move to Manchester United. We're not seeing any other club come in for him, even though I'm sure if that price dropped, you would see other clubs come in. Absolutely, you would. But I think it's the smartest option out of Ineos, the smartest ploy to try and maybe see what you could do with a potential deal. But do I see it happening? No, I don't, even though I would love it. I would absolutely love it. I really, really would. Let's see what you're saying here in the chat. Smash a like on the video, guys. Subscribe if you're new to the channel as well. Let me know your thoughts in the chat here. Phil United says, would love it to happen, but we won't get Baleba. But it's great to see us at least making inquiries about these levels of players. Yeah, you're 100% right, Phil. 100% right. You know, you've got to be active in the market. And you see more deals getting done the later the window goes. And again, look, a lot of people were critical about Ineos, that we didn't get enough done early on. And I think, you know, I think the Cunha deal probably set an unrealistic expectation, because we went, windows open, bosh, there you go, Cunha. The day after, we put a bid in for Mbeumo, and then there was nothing for 6 weeks, because United were, look, Mbeumo says he only wants us, we're happy, we've got time, and we can sit back. But as the window goes on, you see more and more deals happening. So, yeah, I agree with you, Phil. I think Manchester United are going in the right direction in terms of, you know, their reputation now. I think is changing a little bit in the transfer window, and we're buying proper players in my eyes. You know, quality players. D says, I might be the only one concerned about this. Gives away some amount of fools and ridiculous price tags. Yeah, I mean, look, United won't go to 104 million. Absolutely not. You know what I mean? But again, I go back to it. If you could get him for 70 plus 10 and break it down over 4 or 5 installments, I mean, it's doable. It is doable. Now, but what you're also doing then, guys, is these installments have to be paid then each year. So you're banking on Cunha, Mbeumo, Sesko, Baleba, the 4 of them to be paid in installments over. Cunha is 3 years and Mbeumo is 4 years. Let's hear what Sesko is. We'll know that eventually. It could be probably 4 installments as well. All of these installments have to be paid. So you've got to be guaranteeing to get into the likes of the Champions League and generating the revenue that allows you to pay them fees from a previous window and still go out and sign new players next year and the year after and the year after. You know, so the pressure is on. If you go out and sign these players, and we mentioned it earlier on, the pressure is now on Ruben Amorim and on Manchester United. And if we continue to sign big players like this, like Sesko, like Cunha, like Mbeumo, potentially Baleba, you've got to get European football. And the more these good players come in, the higher the expectation has to become. And you've got to live up to that expectation. Because if you don't, all of a sudden you're not in the Champions League. That revenue stream is not there. You've got to pay 80 million in installments for 4 transfers that you done last year. And that 80 million is coming directly out of what you should really be paying on new players. So you've got to be generating that revenue. And we know where that revenue comes from. The revenue comes from finishing the highest as possible in the Premier League because of course, because of, you know, the prize funds for that, and of course TV revenue. And then you're talking about getting into European football, Champions League football. It's the holy grail. It really is. Clarion says, awful thought, Jack. Baleba would immediately fix our issues in midfield. We'd be top 5 for sure. Well, I said it, I think, Clarion, before you came on, maybe. If we could get Baleba and let's say Donnarumma for 30 million euro, we're challenging for the league. We're not challenging for top 5. We're challenging for the league. I'm convinced by it. Now, there's a lot of ifs, buts and maybes between now and then, but we would at least be knocking on the door. Are you saying 21 is coming? Maybe not this year if we sign both of them players. But you would be knocking on the door this year to potentially go fucking hell for leather next season. You know what I mean? 100%. 100%. And I think that's probably what Ineos have in their mind. They set the date of 2028. They set the date of 2028. And the pressure is now on to fulfill that, you know, Project 21 before 2028. They want to win the 21st league title. So they're backing it up. They're certainly backing up the manager here and giving him what he needs. And the pressure is on Ruben Amorim now. The pressure is on Ruben Amorim. If we find ourselves 13th or 12th in November with the backing that Ruben Amorim has got this window and the potential further backing he's going to get between now and the 1st of September, he's out the door. He is. He's out the door by Christmas. If by Christmas we're in the bottom half of the table, I think Ruben Amorim is out the door, and I think maybe fan sentiment would wean. I really do. We go, all right, well, look, what happened last year? You know what I mean? Happened last year, and, you know, you only came in and you bedding in your ideas. You had a full pre-season. You transformed your forward line. Let's say you got Baleba and Donnarumma, and we're in 11th. That's not good enough. It's not good enough. But, obviously, I don't want that to happen, and, you know, that absolutely is the worst-case scenario. But my point here is that the more players that we sign, the more pressure there is. But, yeah. Let's see. Finn says, is he really that good? Yeah, he is. He's really that good. Manchester Evening News reporting earlier about a Baleba discount. I don't know. I'll look into it and bring it to you tomorrow. I didn't hear much on it. We are on a roll now in the transfer market. Fair play to Ineos. There we go. Absolutely. Now, incomings. Bollocks. What did I just X'd off something. Give me 1 second. I was just about to start talking about the next topic, and I X'd it off by accident. What was it? So we've got one report in, guys. I want to bring this to you real quick before we move on. And obviously we're talking about, you know, salary and stuff for Sesko. One report is suggesting that Benjamin Sesko's salary is 160 grand a week. His salary will be increased by 25% if Manchester United qualify for the Champions League. That's pennies, lads. 160 grand a week is fantastic for bringing in a striker like that. It's really, really, really good. If that is the fee. And if we get into the Champions League, give him a 50% pay rise. You know what I mean? 25%, a quarter of that, he'd be up to 200 grand a week. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, if that is to be believed, it's very, very good negotiating, and Manchester United have done a good job there, and Ineos have done a good job. Now, let me see, what did I X off? What did I X off by accident? I just don't know. I want to stay here and drink all the beer. Please don't. Oh, yes, this was it. Right, anyway. We're going to talk finally, guys, before we finish up, about another bomba by David Ornstein today, and it's in relation to Alejandro Garnacho. We've been talking about incomings an awful lot. Where's the sales, lads? Where's the sales? And David Ornstein said today that Chelsea have stepped up talks with Manchester United over a deal to sign Alejandro Garnacho. Clubs are in touch on the topic for some time now, and they're advancing amid Benjamin Sesko joining Manchester United. The 21-year-old winger wants Chelsea only and expects the move to happen, which is, look, brilliant. When you're hearing David Ornstein report on these, you know, you really know there's some momentum gathering there. And look, I think it's quite clear that we all want Garnacho to move on, and he is a realistic opportunity for us to bring some good money in. And of course, it would be pure profit on the books because he's an academy graduate. So it would absolutely free up an awful lot in terms of PSR and FFP, but also it would allow you to reinvest then on a midfielder or a goalkeeper, whatever the case may be. So David Ornstein speaking about Garnacho to Chelsea is absolutely fantastic. Would I prefer him to go to Napoli or to fucking Atletico Madrid? Absolutely. Anywhere outside of England. But he has, you know, put his foot down. He said, I'm not leaving unless it's to another Premier League team. And he obviously wants to prove himself. And look, fair play to him. I would prefer he moved on somewhere else. It's not going to happen. But, I mean, if there's anyone that will give us above maybe the price for him, it's Chelsea. And you know what? We fucking owe him. So we do. After what they done to us with Mason Mount, you know, what they were looking for, you know, they're talking about 80 million for Jackson and all of this nonsense. They owe us a few bob back, and I think we should really, really negotiate hard on it. Now, Manchester United supposedly want £50 million for Garnacho. United view the Madueke to Arsenal deal as a benchmark, and this is really, really important here. You know, we've seen Manchester United go in for Mbeumo and Cunha, and we've had the same thing being held to our throat. It's the whole, no, well, hold on, Anthony Elanga went for 55, you know. We want at least that, and we want more, and so on and so forth. So now Manchester United are doing something similar. I mean, Garnacho is a better player than Madueke, and Chelsea sold him to Arsenal for 50 million. Now, it was 50 million, wasn't it? So there you go. So right, that 50 million you got for him, if you want Garnacho, just fucking wire it to us there, will you? And we get the deal done and dusted. And rightly so. So, look, Manchester United are going to have to be, and they are being, quite ruthless in the transfer market, in my opinion. Now, again, we will never know, the full extent to the negotiations that are going on in the background. But it's great to see these types of reports coming out. United are going... Chelsea want to pay 35 million for Alejandro Garnacho, and Jason Wilcox is going, are you having a fucking Steffi Graf here? You just took 50 million off of Arsenal for Madueke, and Garnacho's twice the player. So no, 50 million if you want him. We'll start with 40, and you can give us 10 in achievable add-ons like we're doing with Sesko. And I think that's the way you've got to approach these things. You really, really do. And I'm happy for it. But look, let's hope deals can get done quickly. But I think we've mentioned before, haven't we, that, and we only mentioned it in tonight's show as well, that as long as the books are balanced by next July, happy days. And United are probably getting the sense now that Garnacho, we will be able to move him on for quite good money. Story with Anthony, probably move him on as well. Sancho's whole, digging his heels in. Dortmund are kind of coming, sniffing around him again. So United can go, right, well, we can move for a new goalkeeper, or we can move for a new number 6, because we know we're going to be able to move these players on. And let me just carry the 1 minus 42 plus 2 square root of 7 is whatever that is. Yeah, the books are fine. The books are fine, and we have enough. You know what I mean? So it's, I think, again, and I said it earlier on, lads, all we wanted before, 2 years ago, when before Ineos came in and there was reports, obviously the club were up for sale, and we didn't know it was going to be Qatar or it was going to be Ineos. All we wanted, lads, and we had this conversation, all of us here, who anyone who watched the channel at the time and who's still watching, we all said the same thing. It doesn't really matter who buys us. We all had our preferences. But we said it doesn't really matter who buys it as long as they put competent people in strategic areas of the club. And we have that now. I don't think we can ask for too much more. And I think the ship is being turned around a little bit here. It's going to take time, but I think we're heading in the right direction. I really do. Finn says, Viva Garnacho, flying out the door here, United. Do on Garnacho. That's good, actually. Chris says, I agree with the Madueke benchmark. D says, please, Chelsea, please take that Pratt. Finn says, Revolut is 65 mil, good lads. Jamie says, 50 mil for Garnacho is fairly cheap, in my opinion. Well, there you go. Absolutely, yeah. Clarion says, Jack, you're so right. Chelsea must pay what he's worth. Chris says, let's be honest, is Garnacho really twice the player? Maybe similar. Well, I think he's done more than Madueke has. So maybe not twice the player. I've obviously been a bit exaggerating there, but I think he's a better player than Madueke is. I think he's worth more than what Madueke is. And if Madueke went for 50 million, then, it should be a minimum for us, for Garnacho. We finished 5th and our spending for this summer window is cleared. Yeah, there you go. The installments. Yeah, exactly. The installments. Yeah, 100%. Right, guys. I'm going to leave it there. A very, very interesting day as Manchester United fans, and a very positive day. We've got a new striker, subject to a medical. Garnacho is out the door by the looks of it. It's been a positive day, and look, there's been very few of them over the past few months, so enjoy it while you can, and let's hope we can build on this now over the next couple of weeks before the season or before the transfer window ends. And we've got a new forward line in by the start of the season, which is good. Now, will Sesko be ready? No, I think he'll be on the bench, and I mean, look, name me any player that was even on pre-season anyway that's going to be ready for the Arsenal game. I don't think anyone will be fully ready. Maybe Bruno, because, he's just a fucking freak of nature. But guys, I appreciate you watching. If you haven't already done so, please do smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel as well. Like I said, the subscriber count is flying up the last couple of weeks, and we're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. So really, really hope we can get there as soon as possible. I won't be around tomorrow night, guys, because I've got training session myself with my own team. So I will be, and there's no watch along either on Saturday, because I've got the kids and I'm minding them. So unfortunately for that. But look, any breaking news between now and then, I will do a match reaction. I'll be watching the game. I just won't be able to live stream for it. So I will do a match reaction maybe on Saturday night. Once the missus is home from work, and we'll get that put out for you as a pre-record, or maybe even a live on Saturday night. But make sure you're turning on the notification bell, guys. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter and TikTok as well. Any breaking news is put up there, and any information about our lives each day go up on my story on Instagram, so make sure you're following us. Links are in the description. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, thanks for participating in the show tonight. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a great night, and I'll chat to you soon. Take it easy. Good luck.